Good morning. Today we're going to cover Algebra 2 Lesson 4.5 where you're going to factor, solve, and graph. So here we're putting together all the things that we've been doing since we started this unit, which was, going through and multiplying, various polynomials together using some form of distributions. FOIL, of course, was the common term that we used. And then taking it apart using factoring. And then we went on and we started to solve for x when y equals 0. And that leads us to the last part of this, which is to graph. So we're going to put it all together today. And again, you're going to take notes on this video, and you're going to upload them to either the Student View Dropbox or you're going to email them to me by 11:59 p.m. Saturday. Make sure you put your complete header down. You will not receive a full score unless you print clearly your first and last name, the date, the period, the lesson notes, name and number, and put that on your notes. And if you're doing an email, then put it on your header as well. Okay? All right. So what are we going to do today? We're going to be able to factor, solve, and graph polynomials, which is what I was just describing. And we don't have an IXL for this, but this video supports the worksheet that I have already uploaded into the Unit 4 lesson links folder on factor, solve, and graph. That's a CUDA worksheet. The answers are there. I want to see the work. I'm going to give you, of course, a score on this worksheet, but it depends, again, upon seeing you do the work. If you do the work and I see the process, then you get the score. All right, so we're going to start out by factoring and solving a simple trinomial that has been made into an equation. So this is a quadratic equation. So why do we know it's quadratic? It's because it has this exponent of 2. Okay? And so we're going to factor, and when we factor, we do the old double bubble, or two parentheses to create our binomial. And so we have x squared here, of course. And so x squared divides or factors into x times x. And then we're looking for, well, do we see a greatest common factor? No, because x has a assumed number 1 multiplied to it. So we need something other than that. So we don't worry about greatest common factor. So instead, what we do is we factor negative 28. And we're looking for two factors of negative 28 that when multiplied together equal negative 28, but when added together equal 3. So let's see. Well, it's pretty easy. Negative 28. We have positive 7 and negative 4. Come to mind because 7 minus 4 is 3. Okay? So that's actually pretty easy to see. Plus 7 minus 4. Again, if you aren't sure about these, start out with, negative 1 or positive 1 times negative 28, or negative 1 times positive 28. Negative 2 times positive 14, positive 2 times negative 14, and keep looking for factors that when added together will equal 3. So going back through and double checking this, you can do the old, the rainbow method. You have x times negative 4, that's negative 4x, and you have positive 7x here, and 7x minus 4x is 3x, so obviously that works. So you're going to then break this into, and this equals 0. You're going to break this into two equations, x plus 7 equals 0, and then we'll do the other one. And then if you look at this, you realize that you're going to subtract 7 from both sides, so you get x equals negative 7. That's really easy to see, so we don't really have to go through and do all the work behind it, but really isn't much. You just subtract 7 from both sides, you get x is negative 7. And then over here, you're looking at this. This is x minus 4. So what does x got to equal? X has got to equal positive 4, because you would be adding 4 to both sides. So here are the two solutions for what x is when y equals 0. So, I told you this before. This is your y. This is your y. Because remember, these quadratic equations have x and y coordinates. This is your y. So that means that there is a set of coordinates where x is negative 7, y is 0, and x is 4, y is 0. So we can graph this, and let me see here. I've got a, yes, here it is. So let's just quickly graph this. And so if we said that this is negative 7 over here, and 0, and then this was over here somewhere about 4 and 0, okay, just approximate, then we need to figure out one more point. We can actually figure out where x is 0, because let's look at this trinomial. I can come up to figure out what x is 0. If I put a 0 in here and a 0 here, then that would mean that 0 minus 28 equals 0. Well, that isn't the way it goes. Let's just take it over here. X squared plus 3x minus 28 equals 0. Okay. Let's make x 0. So we're going to have 0 squared plus 3 times 0 minus 28 equals 0. We're going to add the 28 first to both sides. And so we get, well, you're looking at this and you're saying, oh, well, this can't be it. You got 0 and you got a 28. Well, this is really your y. So y equals 28, right? So let's take the 0 out here and just use the y. So y equals 28. Again, x squared plus 3x minus 28 equals y. I took the 0 out here because we don't want that to confuse you. We want you to know that that's going to be the 0 in the end once we do the coordinates. So this is 0, this is 0. We add 28 to the other side, we get y equals 28. So that's when x is 0, y is 28. So that means we've got somewhere down here coordinate where x is 0, y is 28. So you see, it's really very, very easy to come up with an answer for these. So you get something that looks like this. Now having this third point, we're able to come up with a good curve. You need 3 points when you're coming up with a parabola. Now, why do we know we're going up? It's because this was, oops, this is 28. Did we do that right? Let's see. I just want to make sure I did everything correctly here. Oh, yes. So let me redo this. So I've got x squared plus 3x minus 28 equals y. I make x 0. And so I have 0 squared plus 3 times 0 minus 28 equals y. So this is really 0 minus 28 equals y. So 28 equals y. Okay, so there you go. 28 equals y. I'm sorry, negative 28. Negative 28. Why? Because I'm not transferring the 28 over. Over here I did this, and that's an error. That's why I crossed it out. So I've got 0 minus 28 equals y. So that just means negative 28 equals y. And that is, though, where x is 0 and y is negative 28. Now, I graphed it down here correctly, but I don't want to confuse you with this. I want to make sure you understand that all you do is put 0 in for x, solve for y is negative 28, and then just understand that since you set x is 0, y's got to be negative 28, and then you graph it. Okay? All right, so that's pretty simple. Let's move on. We're going to do something similar to this as we go on. I mean, this is going to be the process. So we're just going to do more of these. So find the zeros by factoring, sketch the polynomial, label the x-intercepts. Let's really sketch the graph and label the x and the y-intercepts. Okay, so I've got x squared plus 4x plus 3. And looking at this, I'm going to go ahead and factor it again, but I'm going to let let y equal 0. So let y equal 0. So I want to factor x squared. Well, let's see if we can do it simply. First of all, let's do the y-intercept. If we want to take what we just learned over here, if we want to find the y-intercept, okay, in your graph, remember this is y and this is x, all we really did was we made x 0. So let's do that with this equation. So let's let x equal 0, and let's do the y-intercept. So we're going to start out with a y-intercept. All right, so if this is 0, we've got y equals 0 squared plus 4 times 0 plus 3. You end up with, this is 0, so you end up with y equals 3 when x is 0. So the y-intercept is x is 0, y is 3. Okay, so we've just easily found the x-intercept. Now the y-intercept, we're going to have to go ahead and factor. We're going to have to factor that. So we're going to do the old double bubble factorization. So let's see here. So x-intercept. And we're going to let y equal 0. So it's going to look like this. Okay, and we're looking for x. All right, so that means we're going to make y the 0. 0 equals x squared plus 4x plus 3. Right? And then we do the factorization. So we go 0 equals, and we do our double bubble. And we've got x times x for the x squared. And then what times what equals 3? What are the factors of 3 that when added together equal 4? Well, that's pretty easy. 3 times 1 equals 3. 3 plus 1 equals 4. So that's what we want. So we're going to do, let's see, plus 3 and plus 4. So that means in here, x plus 3 equals 0, and over here it's x plus 4 equals 0. And we know then that x equals negative 3 when y equals 0. And we know over here, x equals negative 4. So that means negative 4, 0. Okay, x, y. So when we graph that, let's do this over here. We've got negative 3 and negative 4, so that's somewhere over here. So negative 4, 0, 3, 0. And then the y-intercept was 0 and 3. So x is 0, y is 3. So that's somewhere up here. 0, 3. All right. Now, does this graph go up or down? Well, it's suggested because the y-intercept is here that it probably goes up. But how do we really tell? We look at the leading coefficient. Leading coefficient is positive. This is positive x squared. So whenever you have a positive coefficient in the leading term, the x squared term, then the parabola goes up. It's going to look like that. Okay? It's going to go up. So that means that our parabola goes up. And that's how it's done. Okay? All right, let's do the second one. So y-intercept first. So that means we'll let x equal 0. And so then that means that y equals 2 times 0 squared minus 32. Okay. And so this is 0, so that means y equals negative 32. That was easy. So x is 0, y is negative 32. Okay. All right. And then we want to do the x-intercept. We'll do it over here to the right. So the x-intercept, again, we're going to let y equals 0. So it's going to be blank 0. So we're going to do 0 equals 2x squared minus 32. All right, so we've got a factor. Okay. So we factor this, and we got a GCF here because we can divide both of these terms by 2. So let's factor out the GCF. So that's going to be 2. So I'm going to have 0 equals 2. And then I've got, again, an x and an x. Well, let's rewrite this as, let's do it this way. Let's get rid of the, let's do a single trinomial still because we're, well, it's actually binomial because there are 2 terms. So we've got x squared and minus 30. Well, what's half of 32? So we're going to divide by 2 here. We divide by 2 here. So 2 divided by 2 is 1x squared, and negative 32 divided by 2, I think, is negative 16. It is. So negative 16. All right. So now, looking at x squared minus negative 16, that really, these are both perfect squares. Notice 16, 4 times 4 is 16, x squared is x times x. So we can factor that now into difference of squares. So this would be x times x again. But I got negative 16, and to get negative 16, you would have a positive 4 and a negative 4. So positive 4, negative 4. And so positive 4, negative 4. Right? And you know, when you do the little double bubble, just to double check, you get negative 4 and get 4 times x is positive 4, and these are x's, so they just cancel out, and you're left with you're left without that middle term. So that works quite well. So let's just finish this up then. So 0 equals 2 And then 2, of course, we can't do anything with because 2 does not equal 0. But then we're going to get x plus 4 equals 0 and x minus 4 equals 0. Right? And so this is x is negative 4. This is x is positive 4. So that means you've got, for your terms here, negative 4, 0, and positive 4, 0 as your x, y. And these are, of course, your x-intercepts. So here's your y-intercept. Here are your two x-intercepts. All right? So you can graph those. And so when you do that, now notice that, let's see, this is, well, let's see. The x-intercepts are negative 4 and 4, so here's negative 4, 0. And here's 4, 0. And your y-intercept is 0, negative 32. That's way, 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 way down here, but it's somewhere down here. So x is 0, y is negative 32. So you end up with a parabola that looks like this. Okay. All right. So that takes you through the next two. Now let's go and look at the last two. All right, so these are a little more complex. Man, looking at this C here, it appears that, wow, we're out of order here. We need to have this negative 2x squared first, and then this 12x should be the second term. Well, but no matter, and this should be the third term. We can change this. That's the marvelous thing, that we can make these things commute around and it doesn't change the equation at all. So let's change the order. So this is going to become y equals negative 2x squared plus 12x minus 10. Okay? So now that you've got it that way, can you do a GCF on this? Yeah. It looks like the GCF is negative 2, isn't it? GCF is negative 2. So I'm going to divide out a negative 2 out of each of these terms. And when I do that, negative 2 divided by negative 2 leaves you with 1x squared. So you got y equals x squared now, but I've got this negative 2 hanging out in front. 12 divided by negative 2x, I'm sorry, 12x divided by negative 2 is negative 6x. And negative 10 divided by negative 2 is positive 5. Okay? So now I'm going to factor this. Let's see. And this is going to give us the x-intercepts. Oh, what would the y-intercept be? Well, let's do the y-intercept over here. Y-intercept. Again, you're going to let x equals 0. So that would mean y equals 0 squared plus, let's see, what is it? Let's see, 0 squared, negative 2 times 0 squared. Now let's just, we don't have enough room here, so I'm going to do the y-intercept down at the bottom. Let's just do the x-intercepts and then we'll go back and do the y-intercept. So let's just factor this. So we got x squared minus 6x plus 5. So I'm going to double bubble that. So negative 2 times, and then I've got x times x, and then what times what equals 5, that when added together equals negative 6. Well, it's got to be two negative terms. So negative 1 times negative 5 5 equals positive 5, but negative 1 and negative 5, if you add them together, equal negative 6. So those would be the terms, negative 1 and negative 5. So now, again, we would go through and solve. So we know, again, negative 2 does not equal 0, so we can just get rid of that. Remember, this y is going to equal 0, so let's change this to let y equal 0. So this is 0. And so we've got 0 times x minus 1. Well, let's do it this way. Okay, so we got negative 2, and negative 2 does not equal 0. We got x minus 1 equals 0, and x minus 5 equals 0. So this is x equals 1 and x equals 5 when y equals 0. And this is 5, 0. I'm sorry. Yeah, 5, 0. And so those are the two x-intercepts. Now the y-intercept, again, we're going to let x equal 0. So we're just going to go back to the original equation, but we're going to leave it in the order that we had over here with the leading term is negative 2x squared. So now, so if we're going to let x equal 0, y is going to equal negative 2 times 0 squared plus 12 times 0 minus 10. And obviously all that would simplify down into y equals negative 10. So that means that when x is 0, y is negative 10. So now I've got my y-intercept, I got my two x-intercepts, I can graph this. And since the leading coefficient here is negative, then that means my graph is going to be negative, which means it's going to go down. It's going to look like this. So I've got at x-intercept at 1, 0. X is 1, y is 0, so that's 1, 0. And I've got one at 5, 0. So those are my two x-intercepts. And then my y-intercept is at 0, negative 10. That's somewhere down here. 0, negative 10. And so since it goes down, then my graph is going to look like this. Okay. So these sketches, guys, are all done in freehand like I'm doing. And you know, this is the way to do it. Don't get yourself all twisted up trying to draw some XY coordinate chart that is really hyper realistic and has all the little tick marks and everything. Just do it the way I'm doing it. Just sketch it exactly the way you see me sketching it. Okay? All right. So the last one is negative 2x squared minus 10x minus 8. It actually looks closer to what this C1 became. The graph obviously is going to go down because the leading coefficient in the leading term, the x squared term, is negative. So let's do the y-intercept. So y-intercept, let x equal 0. So I'm going to have y equals negative 2 times 0 squared minus 10 times 0 minus 8. So you know that y is going to equal, since this is all 0, negative 8. So the y-intercept is going to be x is 0, y is negative 8. So that's the y-intercept. Okay? All right, now the x-intercept, we're going to factor. So we're going to have 0 equals, because 0 is y, negative 2x squared minus 10x minus 8. Can we factor out a GCF? Answer, yes, we can. We can factor out a 2. So why? Because all these are even. So I'm going to divide by, actually let's divide by negative 2 because we got this negative sign. Let's get those negatives out. Negative 2, divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2, okay? And so I'm left with 0 equals, and since I'm factoring out the negative 2, I put it on the side, and then I've got x squared, and then negative 2 divided by negative 10 divided by negative 2 is positive 5x, and negative 2 divided by negative 8 is positive 4. Okay? So now we'll do our double bubble. So I've got 0 equals, and then I've got negative 2 over here, times x squared is x times x. What factors of 4 equal 5? Well, again, 1 times 4, right? 1 times 4. So, 4. So we want 1 times 4, right? 1, 4. So positive 1, positive 4. And so then I've got negative 2 equals 0. No, so we don't use that. X plus 1 equals 0, and x plus 4 equals 0. So this is x obviously equals negative 1, and this is x equals negative 4. And so the x-intercept is x is negative 1, y is 0, and the other x-intercept is negative 4 and 0. So these are the x-intercepts. So we quickly graph. Okay, so I've got negative 1. So now I'm over here at negative 1. And I got negative 4. So that's way over here. Right? And then the y-intercept we said is at 0, negative 8. So that's down here somewhere. So 0, comma, negative 8. Leading coefficient's negative. We said the graph is going to go down. So obviously it's got to look like this. Okay? So there's the whole thing. Okay, so let me see, bring this down a little bit so that you can see everything. I think you got it all. All right. I think you got it all. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, that is it, and have a great day. I'll be uploading this to YouTube. Thank you. Bye-bye now.